Hi, I'm Justin.
Also, I hate the way my voice sounds, so if you can, do whatever Photoshop does to voices, make me sound awesome.
And this is my lovely friend,
The beauty in the eyes of the beholder, and it's just about getting into the seat of being the beholder.
Hayley.
I don't think you have to be particularly perceptive. I just think you have to look up.
This podcast is mostly just her telling me stories.
If you expose yourself to the possibility that this might be really awkward, there can be something just really cool on the other side of it.
She thinks that her life and way of looking at things are
Oh, I was kind of waiting on you. I thought you were getting your stuff ready. You're waiting on me?
pretty normal.
You got to edit out all the misinformation about the Amish.
Maybe you can relate.
I would like a chance to re-sing the Amish Paradise.
If you want lighthearted stories
All right, you want to talk about goats?
and stream of consciousness,
I just woke up and needed some friends, and so I bought them.
then you're going to like the Sunny Side Up podcast.
Sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up, sunny side up.
So, if you're at all like me, you may feel that you're living in a world that can be a bit overwhelming and confusing at times. I'm also a huge fan of podcasts, documentaries, docudrama stories, and of just information in general. Between all of that and the social media and news, sometimes our brains can feel like they're on overload. Hayley and I hope that this podcast can be something of an antidote to all of that. Like little jello shots of joy and distraction. None of it is too serious or really too informative. Mostly it's just two friends who have conversational chemistry talking about whatever enters the minds of relatively ADHD people. We hope you enjoy.
And they have a flu shot for that, but instead I would just be like, no, I'm just going to knock it out with this big shopping trip to Walmart, and I'll cope the same way I always do. But
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of the upsides of being raised in a cult is that I didn't get any shots.
I would subscribe to that podcast, by the way.
Right.
The upsides
It's
to
coming.
being raised in a cult.
Don't worry. It's coming. It's absolutely. I have literally, I wish
You
I was
only
kidding.
hear the negatives.
I know. Okay.
The built-in inclusive feelings, right? Sense of
Let me,
community.
okay, please, let me tell you, no joke, I swear to God, there is a whole science that nobody has gotten into yet in the world of sociology. I think if you study cults, the bad stuff, everybody knows about the bad, right? The bad
Right.
things are obvious. I really don't think you need warning labels. The people that are caught up in it, they're not going to see it. The warning labels aren't going to help them. And for the rest of us, draining the blood from a cat and then doing a weird ritual is
The
kind of
Kool-Aid stuff.
the Kool-Aid stuff. You're I'll pass. But once we knock those things out of the way, there's a lot of really wonderful things about growing up in
redeeming qualities.
The redeeming qualities. So for me, because I didn't have any of the shots, and Brother Mead said that the doctor was bad, I just didn't go to the hospital. And so here's why cults are very fascinating. And no offense to the Amish, who have been a recurring theme on our show.
Are they
before.
a cult? They're not a cult.
They're probably not, but they're a sect. Which a sect is
A cult's looser, hang-loose cousin.
Yeah, they're a second cousin once removed, something where they're in the same genre, but they're not quite as. But anyways, so with the Amish or with any other good sect or cult, let's do both, because I think it's fair to call some sects and some cults, and I'll let people decide what they're in.
Okay.
But from a sociology and anthropological point of view.
Anthropological was the word I was looking for when we were talking about cornbread. Couldn't find the word. Thank you.
You are you're
Circle back to that later.
Of worthless information. But I think so the struggle for all good scientists is how do you do a true sample where you pull some portion of society and you say, okay, you guys take what's considered a very risky behavior, i.e., don't have your kids in a hospital, don't give your kids shots.
Yes.
And then we're just going to run this thing for, me, I'm an experiment. I'm 46 years into an experiment of very, very, very little doctoring shot type stuff ever. And so, and I'm pretty healthy by most people's standards, but part of my thing that I've learned is, this is my theory anyways, because my mom and dad gave me no help at the early part of my life with fighting anything off, and I managed to live, which are two big upsides.
That's the hurdle.
That's
if
the
you
hurdle.
survive your childhood, you
Right.
should be relatively healthy later on.
And if you're smart enough to be following this and thinking through this critically, part of my advantage of why I might have lived is because the rest of the population didn't have smallpox stuff. But I caught chickenpox, I caught measles, mumps, whooping cough. I caught all that, like the old-fashioned way.
Good gracious.
Yeah, I got it all. But each one is about a week to 2 weeks. Like I remember chickenpox lasted around 2 weeks.
I had
But whooping cough
chickenpox.
was yeah. So anyways, you get it for a week, then your body really does build like an amazing defense system, and hopefully you get it young so you can fight it off. And then now
And don't have any underlying congenital
Right.
issues
No,
that
fair.
would just kill you.
Just kill you. Right. That's what I'm saying. The
There's
asterisk
some-
is, you have to survive this.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Okay. But basically, the message that you send to your body, if you get no aspirin, no Tylenol, no fever reducer, no nothing, I got none of that growing up. The message you send your body is, hey, listen, buddy, you're on your freaking own. You're on your it's either like you fight this off or you die. So like my immune system just kind of learned like you're not going to get help. Like mom and dad aren't giving you anything.
How did the community feel about soap? Could you wash your hands?
You could wash your hands.
Could you brush your teeth?
Yes.
Did
teeth.
it matter if there was fluoride in the toothpaste? Like, how far did they walk this out?
No, they had gaps. They didn't really care what kind of toothpaste or soap you used.
Okay.
Right.
So most everybody else similar in their
Yes.
health responses? Like most
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, on average, they probably tip more towards my side.
Yeah.
But like I took it one step further and just started like so I think they sort of were unconsciously like they were just like in the river going with the flow. I started critically thinking about it at around in my early 30s, and I was like, wait, I was raised different. Let's continue this experiment of forcing my body to have to like do hard stuff. So I started eating off the ground, licking shopping carts, like doing really gross. I'll tell you the grossest thing probably that I ever did.
Please don't chew somebody else's gum from like
I
a
did that.
public
That's not a big
area.
deal.
No, what? No.
That's not
okay.
bad. Yeah.
It is a big deal. Okay. Like, I'm just gonna say it is a big deal.
That was not too bad.
That's okay.
No, probably self-diagnosed grossest thing I've ever done is I was in the Atlanta airport, busiest airport in the world, on one of the main thoroughfares. I'd gotten a sandwich with a tomato slice in it.
No.
And it fell in the center of the busiest walkway in the busiest airport, a good 40 feet outside the restrooms. And I sat and looked at that, and I was like, are you going to be a man today, or are you letting the fake germ news get you? And by God, I picked that thing up. I let it sit there for probably close to 10 seconds thinking, because I had to think about this one, because I knew it was like, there's for sure poop on the bottom
Okay,
of this
but I
thing.
take the tomatoes off my sandwich. I'm more fascinated at this point in the story that you wanted to put a tomato back on your sandwich.
Yeah,
and
no,
be like,
absolutely.
that's the one ingredient
Yep.
that I'm willing to let go by the wayside.
No. Ate it like a man, never looked back.
I will say I could handle food off of like a walkway more so than food off a handrail because I'm not afraid of the bacteria and the things that are occurring in the soil, although that is where our parasites and our hookworms and things come from. So I should be more concerned about it. But like I'm less concerned about dirt than I am about nasty germs coming off people's hands, not washing in the restroom, and then touching the railing on the side of the escalator or whatever. Like that's where the nasty
Right,
is.
right. Yeah,
That's
none of that
what
bothers me at all. I'll lick that in a heartbeat. Yeah, none of that bothers me. Yeah, it's not bother me. But my immune system knows at this point that like it's getting no help. So it's just adapted. Like that's the amazing thing about human beings is that we just adapt. So if you bubble wrap yourself, it will adapt to a bubble wrap situation, and basically you'll have fewer defenses.
Well, kind of, sort of. Okay, because viruses, your body can learn to fight it off, and you're still going to have an immune response, and you're going to feel like my body's an amazing thing, and it is.
Right.
But that virus is going to affect your body in ways that you may not know now and you may not know later. For example, I had chickenpox when I was a kid also because I, too, was a child of the 80s.
Yeah.
It showed back up in my 30s as shingles. And I know only old people are supposed to get it, but I was in a very stressful point of time in my life, and I got shingles. And I'm like, what the heck? And you know why? Because I had that, it's a herpes virus.
Yeah, okay.
And it just lives in your spinal column or somewhere.
Yeah.
And it just
comes
shows
back.
up. Yeah.
Like, hello.
And most other
Remember me?
people, not until they're older and bodies are weaker, but...
Yeah.
I can wear myself down in a fraction of the time it takes normal people to wear themselves down. And so shingles, here I go.
Yeah. Did you do was it like asphalt shingles or more like the metal variety? Because I'm very, I really get medical terms.
You should have been in the doctor's office the day she diagnosed me. She thought I was just pill shopping because I came in and I was like, I have a vague backache. Could it be a kidney stone? And she was really skeptical and didn't really want to see me. And I work out of town. At this point, I work about 90 miles away from my house. So it looked like I had driven just far enough away where the doctors wouldn't know me. But
all the metrics were going, nah.
Yes.
Nah.
She's just a pill shopper. But she's asking these questions. And, her body language was so, eye roll, basically. And she finally was like, I can give you this much of whatever painkiller it was. And I was like, no. I don't hurt that bad. I just want to know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Oh, her demeanor changed entirely. She went into fact-finding mode. She became Dr. House, and we she all of a sudden started ordering, pregnancy tests, urinalysis, everything. And,
wow.
And she was like, do you have any rashes? And I was like, no rashes. Wait a second. Yeah, but it's right here, the size of a quarter. I thought it was from doing yard work because I will catch poison ivy from across the highway.
Me too. Yeah. You say the word poison ivy. It's
yeah. And I was like, I just figured it's something I picked up, but it's been there for. And she looked at it. She's like, oh my gosh. She's like, it's shingles. And I don't know if they had a test where they could confirm it or if she just assumed, but everything she said was correct and it showed back up. And I think that's what we're going to find with COVID is not what it did in the moment. Your body can overcome the average cold symptoms of COVID. It was kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think that the vaccine that I took probably lessened the impact and it was still unpleasant.
Yeah.
It's what that virus is doing to our bodies long term. And that's where I can't rule out. What is this thing doing to our adrenal glands, which I now believe are profoundly important. The unsung mechanism.
Hero.
The unsung puppet master inside our systems. But in people that died from COVID, they did autopsies and they found the virus in the adrenal gland. We know that it impacts it. We don't know exactly what the impact is. And our situation is, I've got this kid who's gentle as a lamb.
Yeah, she's so
And she's
precious.
been in a sustained panic attack for 3 or 4 months now. And we go into the clinic and they're all like, it's normal. Here's some anxiety medicine. You're just going to have to get used to it. Everybody lives like this. It's no problem. And
which is sadly true that
we've normalized it to that point. And I think our society is particularly anxious, and it's the lifestyle that we've given ourselves.
But I love that you're picking up on there may be some other, and kind of to your point, I look for abnormalities. So, when everybody who's under a certain age, or 90%, let's say, everybody is anxious, depressed, blah, 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 blah. I'm bored with it now because it's trying to find someone who's not under 30 and anxious and depressed is very hard.
That's how the clinicians, diagnosticians, whatever you want to call the doctors feel. Because everybody who comes in their clinic.
But I'm saying this is where it should trigger us as into okay, there's something going on here. This isn't the normal, right? It's anything that goes over. We should allow for whatever the percentage is, 10, 15%, 20% might be normal. But when it's 90%.
When everybody's walking in with it.
Well, this is my same experience that I had with the food allergies. Because when I was growing up, first of all, I have no food allergies. I will eat anything. I have none. I eat everything, even things that are trying to eat me. I'm not. It's a mutual feast, So, but anyways, no, I love food. I love all kinds of food. Everything is great to me in terms of that. No food allergies. Wouldn't know what to do with it. So, and then I think when I was coming up, I vaguely remember one kid had a little something. And now, again, it's every other person, giving their list of what they can't eat is
true.
It's ridiculous. And so so that's another thing. You're what happened?
Why are we so sensitive?
Why?
Well, number one, we effed up our food supplies.
Fair.
We have significantly affected where our food comes from and what's happening to it on all levels. And what we've done to corn and then injected corn syrup into everything we eat, from dog food on down. And, we're making animals eat corn who are not biologically... a cow is not supposed to be able to eat corn.
That's right.
So we feed it corn, and then we pump it full of steroids to make it digest it. And then we're I wonder why this... I wonder why I don't feel as good as I used to.
I wonder why I wake up at 3 a.m. and start mooing at the moon. It's just so weird. I don't get it. I'm growing an udder out the left side of my hip. No, yeah.
But I mean, it's small. It's small and subtle things, but also widespread and pretty profound at the same time.
Yeah. You're starting to see it macro. Yeah.
But with our situation, we're trying to put our finger on what's going on here, and every doctor that we saw is saying, well, it's pretty normal. This is not unusual. And you have a kid who's saying, I promise you this is not what you see as normal. I don't know how to convey it. We don't have a vocabulary for it for me to tell you about what I'm experiencing in terms that will let you know it's not normal. But
wow.
I don't know if it's diet. I don't know if it's, but I do think that we're going to find out that COVID has an impact on those adrenal glands in a way that we're not recognizing diagnostically yet.
Yeah, okay, that's
because
fair.
we're still flying it under the radar of this is normal, here's the typical prescription for it and manage it.
Right.
And we got some people that are having some slightly abnormal symptoms that they don't realize.
Wow.
But what can you do about it? It's viral. You can't fix it.
Yeah.
And this is why you shouldn't lick your shopping cart handles, because it's not so much that can you handle the illness? You probably can. You've got a great immune response. The best. Like, I hate to be all Trump about your immune response. But it's probably a great immune response. But the impacts that you can't control and how they're going to rear their heads later is the thing that we can't dismiss, and why I'm willing to continue to use hand sanitizer.
Hello, lovely friends. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And it would mean the world if you would tell other people about this podcast and maybe even spam your social media accounts with just how much you're enjoying it. If you are, of course. Also, commenting and rating us on whatever platform you're downloading or streaming from is incredibly helpful to a little startup podcast like this one. On the other hand, if you are dissatisfied with your listening experience, please leave all of that hate on someone else's podcast. Just maybe to confuse them a little bit, right? But most of all, we hope you keep looking up and looking for the sunny side of life.